yang bergabung di sini. Jadi teman-teman mungkin, kalau ada teman ataupun, timnya yang mungkin nanti belum bisa bergabung, bisa diarahkan untuk ke YouTube channel LO Kreatif karena seluruh rekaman ataupun, sosialisasi yang akan dilakukan hari ini semua sudah dilakukan live di YouTube dan bisa ditonton ulang lagi oleh teman-teman. Oke, kan untuk mempersingkat waktu, hari ini, sesuai dengan, judul dari acara kita hari ini adalah sosialisasi untuk lomba web dev with Spheeres Low Code, di mana, kategori lomba ini merupakan kategori lomba terbaru kami di rangkaian kategori lomba LO Kreatif 2023 yang secara khusus untuk lomba ini disponsori oleh salah satu perusahaan yaitu dari Spheeres.com. Nah, untuk rangkaian acara hari ini nanti akan dimulai dengan sedikit penjelasan dari saya untuk gambaran besar bentuk lomba dari webdev.spheeres.com ini dan juga beberapa, panduan yang mungkin harus teman-teman, perhatikan ataupun diperhatikan lebih supaya nanti bisa membantu teman-teman dalam, melakukan proses pendaftaran ataupun dalam melakukan proses pengumpulan karya. Nah, di sini juga kenapa kami melakukan sosialisasi tersendiri. Jadi untuk, khusus untuk lomba webdev.spheeres.com ini nantinya teman-teman akan, diminta untuk membuat suatu sistem ataupun program dengan menggunakan aplikasi yang berbentuk CRM dari Spheeres Low Code. Itulah kenapa kami menyediakan waktu untuk sosialisasi tersendiri supaya di sini nanti teman-teman bisa melihat bentuk dari aplikasinya itu seperti apa, bagaimana untuk cara mendesain ataupun, membuat sistemnya. Nah, di sini sudah hadir bersama saya, di sini ada CEO dari Spheeres.com. I would like to say welcome to Eric as the CEO of Spheeres.com and also the sponsor for this category, and also is gonna be helping us today to explain or to introduce the Spheeres Low Code to every contestant in here. Jadi nanti untuk lomba ini nanti akan langsung dijelaskan oleh, eee, Bapak Erik di sini sebagai CEO-nya nanti untuk penjelasan, mulai dari bentuk sistemnya, lalu bagaimana untuk desain database, bagaimana untuk, mendesain, interface ataupun mendesain formnya itu nanti akan langsung diberikan penjelasan oleh, Bapak Erik. Nah, nanti jadi untuk agendanya setelah saya memberikan beberapa petunjuk ataupun beberapa informasi buat teman-teman nanti akan dilanjutkan penjelasan langsung dan juga nanti saya akan membantu apabila ada teman-teman yang bertanya ataupun tidak jelas ataupun memiliki, pertanyaan dengan apa yang dijelaskan. Nah, sebelum itu saya mau, memberitahu juga buat teman-teman yang sudah bergabung di sini, untuk seluruh informasi, video manual dan juga, manual yang berbentuk PDF itu sudah bisa di-download di website LO Kreatif. Jadi kalau, teman-teman di sini lihat sebentar ya, oke sebentar. Nah, jadi kalau teman-teman di sini lihat itu teman-teman bisa mendownload seluruh video dan juga manual itu ada pada menu unduh. Kalau teman-teman mengklik di menu unduh, maka nanti teman-teman akan diarahkan untuk mengunduh link ataupun membuka link untuk panduan lomba web dev with Spheeres Low Code. Kalau teman-teman buka linknya, nanti teman-teman akan diarahkan untuk pergi kepada link yang berisi video-video, di mana video ini sudah menunjukkan untuk step-step apabila teman-teman ingin membuat sebuah fitur, membuat sebuah form, ataupun melakukan menggunakan Spheeres Low Code. Dan juga di sini sudah ada untuk PDF-nya apabila teman-teman ingin melihat seluruh manualnya, seperti itu. Nanti itu untuk lebih jelasnya, mungkin akan sedikit dijelaskan oleh Erik, tapi untuk teman-teman yang mungkin masih belum mengerti ataupun sempat ketinggalan, nanti bisa sambil membuka file yang sudah disediakan. Oke, nah sebelum itu juga saya ingin menginformasikan nih buat teman-teman lagi, mungkin teman-teman yang di sini sudah dapat info ataupun mungkin ada yang belum dapat info. Nah, untuk khusus lomba webdev with Spheeres Low Code ini, nanti teman-teman untuk juara 1 dan 2 dan 3 akan memiliki kesempatan untuk bisa mengikuti wawancara untuk program internship di perusahaan Spheeres.com, di mana mungkin teman-teman mahasiswa ataupun teman-teman yang sedang membutuhkan program internship ataupun mungkin teman-teman yang ingin menambahkan experience ataupun pengalaman di portofolio teman-teman, teman-teman bisa mengikuti lomba ini supaya nanti bisa dapat kesempatan untuk bisa internship langsung, di mana internship-nya nanti tentu saja teman-teman juga bisa mendapatkan pengalaman dan juga teman-teman juga akan mendapatkan bayaran seperti itu. Nah, jadi yang perlu saya ingatkan lagi bahwa nanti untuk khusus lomba ini itu ada jumlah maksimum dari pendaftarnya, di mana jumlah maksimum adalah 30 tim. Jadi nanti setelah kuota terpenuhi itu teman-teman yang mau mendaftar lagi itu sudah ditutup dan tidak bisa mendaftar. Jadi buat teman-teman yang mungkin sekarang masih ragu, bisa sambil melihat sosialisasi hari ini, lalu nanti teman-teman bisa untuk langsung mendaftar supaya teman-teman masih termasuk dalam kuota di lomba ini, seperti itu ya. Nah, di sini juga saya mau sudah hadir bersama saya juga sponsor dari Global Staffing Support di sini. Nah, informasi yang mungkin di sosialisasi yang di awal sudah pernah disampaikan bahwa nanti untuk 3 kategori lomba yaitu desain UI UX, mobile programming dan juga ide bisnis itu juga akan disponsori oleh perusahaan Global Staffing Support supaya teman-teman di sini yang menjadi juara 1, 2 dan 3 itu bisa mendapatkan kesempatan juga untuk wawancara internship yang akan dilakukan. Jadi nanti teman-teman bisa mendapatkan kesempatan untuk internship bersama Global Staffing Support. Dan juga sama seperti yang di Spheeres, teman-teman juga bisa mendapatkan pengalaman dan juga teman-teman akan dibayar. Jadi buat teman-teman yang mungkin masih ragu-ragu, ayo semuanya sudah mulai untuk mendaftar, pendaftaran sudah dibuka, teman-teman bisa langsung ke website LO Kreatif dan melakukan pendaftaran, supaya nanti teman-teman bisa mendapatkan kesempatan untuk internship. Oke, mungkin di sini sedikit agak perkenalan dulu ya. I would like also to introduce Mr. Edwin in here. So this is Mr. Edwin. He is the CEO of Global Staffing Support as one of our sponsor that will give you guys the opportunity that you can internship in the international company. Edwin, would you like to, can you please introduce yourself a little bit?
I'd like to give you a small hint. I use this application from Microsoft on my phone called Translate.
Oh, okay.
It's doing quite well simultaneous translation. So if you have a phone, I would say open it, and it is the application is from how do you call that? From Microsoft. It's from you look to the logo. You can find that logo. Yeah.
Yes.
It's doing a marvelous job. So I could really follow what Cynthia was telling us. And Cynthia is doing a marvelous job for all of us, especially for the students on this line. I'm one of the sponsors of the LO Creative. Last year I was there and I was really flabbergasted and very interested because what is happening there is seriously interesting. Universities put themselves in the market, but students have a great platform to show their creativity. And I like to promote that. Today, Erik Stolk will tell something about his product Spheeres, which is a unique product in the market. What we hope to do is to build an application for matching remote internships with remote internship positions. So my intention is that people start working remotely with an international company. And I do this for 20 years, and it's seriously interesting. So that's my role. Please write down my name or my email address or my Skype address. I think Skype address is fantastic. And feel free to contact me. Where's this chat? Can you put it in the chat, Cynthia? My Skype, Edwin Z, DWINZ. If you have any questions, any moment in time, just contact me. Oh, here it is. Yeah. How do I do this? This is my Skype address. Always reachable. Yeah. Any question you have, we can use Google Translator if you don't speak so well English. That's okay. My intention is to see how we can help each other. Today, a fantastic presentation of Erik Stolk. Back to Cynthia. Oh, by the way, yeah, we also have the 15. In total, we have 15 internships places available for winners of this contest. Yeah, and together we will see what is interesting for all of us. So the real content is not yet clear, but it will be discussed together. Yeah, there's always something to do, I can tell you.
Okay, thank you Edwin for the introduction. And jadi seperti yang tadi sudah dijelaskan oleh Edwin, di sini beliau sempat sempat datang di closing ceremony untuk LO Kreatif 2022 dan beliau cukup sangat tertarik dengan acara LO Kreatif ini, di mana beliau bisa melihat banyak mahasiswa yang join dan juga banyak mahasiswa yang berpartisipasi dan juga banyak sekali hasil-hasil karya yang sangat menurut beliau itu bagus dan memiliki chance untuk bisa ikut ataupun bisa untuk dikembangkan lagi dan juga mahasiswa yang memiliki kemampuan untuk bisa bekerja di perusahaan. Seperti itu. Nah, jadi seperti yang tadi juga sudah disampaikan Edwin, sebagai sponsor beliau pada LO Kreatif 2023 ini terdapat kesempatan untuk 50 penempatan internship untuk mahasiswa yang ikut berpartisipasi pada LO Kreatif. Jadi buat teman-teman nih yang mungkin sampai sekarang masih bingung nih, kalau saya ingin mencoba untuk internship bekerja di perusahaan luar negeri dan bagaimana ataupun stepnya bagaimana. Nah, ini sudah diberikan fasilitas oleh salah satu sponsor kami. Jadi teman-teman jangan ragu lagi untuk segera mendaftar di kategori LO Kreatif supaya nanti teman-teman bisa mendapatkan kesempatan untuk internship dan siapa tahu mungkin teman-teman akan berkesempatan juga untuk bisa mendapatkan pekerjaan di perusahaan internasional. Oke, mungkin kita akan langsung ke pembahasan utama kita di sini adalah untuk mengenalkan ataupun mensosialisasikan nih sebenarnya untuk platform ataupun sistem Spheeres.com ini seperti apa sih? Karena kan teman-teman mungkin masih banyak yang belum mengenal, bahkan hampir semua mungkin baru pertama mendengar tentang Spheeres.com ini. Maka dari itu, di sini kami akan mempresentasikan tentang sistem ataupun bagaimana untuk menggunakan Spheeres.com ini. Eric in here, he will help us to introduce about Spheeres.com and also introduce the system of the Spheeres.com. And okay, Eric, are you ready to do the presentation?
Yes, Cynthia. Thanks for the introduction. There were a lot of parts I did not understand, but you mentioned Eric's talk and Spheeres a lot, so I could put it together somehow. I will do my presentation in English, so I hope that Edwin's trick is helping all of you. Next time I will use it to get Dutch from Indonesian, I think. Yeah, okay. What I'm going to tell you is, in large lines, three things. I'm going to show you a short presentation first, and after that, some of the possibilities of our software. And last but not least, I will try to use the designers and show you how to build systems with Spheeres.com. So if I share my screen, then I think you should see that now. And when I look at the presentation, that is now up. Can you see my screen?
Yes, Eric.
Okay. Well, we're going to talk about Spheeres. Spheeres Netherlands is the company that builds and markets the software, and Spheeres.com is the software itself. I think that when we look at Mr. Stolk, this is my line of duty, let's say, in the last few years. I studied electrotechnical systems in the TU in the Technical University in Eindhoven. And after that, I was some time in the oil, Schlumberger, Venezuela, and NAM and Shell, that are all oil companies. And after that, it was IT. I did a number of companies. And last but not least is Spheeres Netherlands. Since 2015, we are developing the software. And I think 30 years ago in Shell offices, I wrote an information plan at some point in time, which said future starts when systems die. I think to start the future is commendatory that systems are flexible enough to disappear. So I think that in Europe we have a kind of block in old habits, and Indonesia, as an upcoming country, I think doesn't have that block. And I think that replacing new thinking by old thinking is much easier in your country than in our country. So I think when you want to impose change on things, it's ideal to do that from Indonesia. What we're looking for is entrepreneurship, people that really want to go and look for new solutions. And I think that Spheeres is willing to help with that, and to see how we can help each other to come to a new level of understanding. When we look at Spheeres, there was a couple of companies that I mentioned already in front of that. In 2015, we started with 4 people to develop software that grew quite rapidly. We did that with people that came from Edwin's company in Ukraine at that moment in time. So in 2019 and 2019, we started to go commercial. So we've been building for 4 years. And after that, 2022, that's where we are now, 2022, 2023, we are a 30 people company now, looking for partners. We have a number of partners as well in America as in Europe. And we are trying to expand the horizon. And this, of course, is the goal, a mean low-code supplier. when we look at the system itself, this is the architecture of the system. When you look at it, then you see that there is a database which is pretty central and which is an integral part of the application. It's not so that you can just connect any database. Yeah, you can via external interfaces, but there is one central database inside where you can have all kinds of views and which has a big dictionary that contains all the changes and the things that you make with your designers. So everything you design with the graphical designers in Spheeres is going in a dictionary, and the application is generated from the dictionary. It's not so that the screens exist, they all exist in a virtual way. So then, of course, we have the screens, and there's also a graphical designer to build screens, and you can do that in a very flexible way. Whereas the database is a kind of, it's an end-to-end database, meaning that all objects can be linked one-to-end to each other. I'll explain that later what that means, but there is a database abstraction layer that makes sure that everything funny that you do on the screens up here is translated in the right way to the database. So everything is validated automatically, a thing that you will not see too much in other low-code systems, and which will gain you a lot of time in building things. Then we have the data wizard, the functions. Part of it is still in C#, meaning that that is the reason why we are called low code and not no code. You do not have to use that too much to put up applications, but it's very handy now and then to fill in the details. So the data wizard is something that moves data around as well in the application as outside the application. So you can build in a graphical way, you can build your interfaces up here, whereas we also have a REST API interface that connects directly to the database itself. Then last but not least, the lifecycle flow designer in which you can modulate your work processes. There's quite a lot of interfaces all around for external databases via link server, WebSocket, via networking, messaging. There's all kinds of things that you can use here. The security is pretty tough to break anyways. I mean, there are 6 layers of security in here. Each record has its own security, but also, of course, the user interface has a lot of security things. It's something that is a part, there's a movie about that that is in the website that Cynthia just mentioned. So you can see of all these things how they work. For the rest, there's a lot of integrations. We integrate with Microsoft Office, Outlook, Exchange, well, name it, and we have a lot of libraries there as well. So this is the scope, more or less, of the software that you are going to use during your contest. This is something about security. I will skip it for now. There is a manual on security, which I will put on the website as well, which explains all the layers of security that are available and that go from the database into the user interface. We have a lot of designers I already mentioned. So you see a couple of pictures of them here. I'll show them live in a couple of minutes. So there's a database designer. We have a screen designer. We have BI in the software that can build you these kind of dashboards. We have the workflow, as I just mentioned, with the graphical designer. Furthermore, a template designer, so you can build HTML, docx, and XLSX templates here. That is Word, this is for mails, and this is for spreadsheets. So you can build quite a lot for data to be formatted for the rest of the world. Then we have a function designer. This is the hardest part because here is where the C# kicks in, and I'll show that later. We have a query builder that is very much used throughout the entire application, which will come in the demo as well. And this is the data wizard where you can just say, I go from a data source to a destination, and just by linking everything together and clicking it, you make packages that can be repeated and that can be used to move data from external to internal and internal to internal and everything you want. Okay. That is a short presentation because I think you are more interested in the software itself than in a lot of talk around it. Let's go for the insights of the application. I will switch off my. Is there any questions, by the way?
Mungkin teman-teman yang punya pertanyaan dari presentasi yang barusan diberikan. Jadi tadi untuk presentasinya yang sudah diberikan oleh Erik itu adalah penjelasan sederhana tentang Spheeres dan juga background dari Erik Stoll. Jadi di situ sudah dijelaskan beliau sudah pernah bekerja di perusahaan apa saja dan juga untuk arsitektur dari program Spheeres Low Code ini. Jadi itu tadi seperti gambaran besarnya supaya teman-teman dapat gambaran. Nah, setelah ini kita akan melakukan untuk langsung prakteknya. Jadi di sini sebelum kita berlanjut ke praktek untuk langsung melihat sistemnya, apakah ada yang mau ditanyakan dulu? Kalau tidak, mungkin kita bisa lanjutkan dan teman-teman bisa menyiapkan pertanyaan untuk di akhir sesi. For the question, maybe we can save it for later, Eric. So you can continue first with the explanation and also some showing about how to use the platform. And after that, the guys can ask in the last.
Yeah, sure. Let's do that. Okay, when you start Spheeres, then what you get is this screen up here. And that is My Daily Stuff. And My Daily Stuff is a page where you can find all kinds of things that you have to remind. What you see also is there's a couple of Dutch sentences in there because not all screens have been translated, but in general you can select your own language up here, and you can even add languages. So I can also add Indonesian if you want to. But anyways, these blocks of data are the things that you have to be remembered about today. And you see all the underlined blue sentences, and these blue sentences, if you click them, then you will go to the outstanding, in this case, a production order that will be shown on screen. And this is the production order. You get all kinds of data in here. Don't watch too much on the details. I'm more talking about the method of doing things at the moment. What will appeal more to you at this moment, I think, is a CRM part. There is a big CRM part in Spheeres, which has already been built with low code, meaning that all the screens that you are being shown at the moment can be altered by the graphical designers that will show you later. But here you see my content card and all kinds of data on there that are available. And underneath, you will see everything that is linked to me and the things that I'm working on at the moment. And when I look at projects, for instance, you see here a number of projects. And if you want to know something on the project, you just click and a screen pops up with the data of the project, and it is phased, so you can make all kinds of phases in here and look at all kinds of data that are connected to the screen. And even these things like Gantt charts and so things you can all integrate into the system for building your screens. I'll show you that in a minute. So when I look here at the company data, what you will see is that there is a company, Spheeres, and obviously that is linked to my person. And when I click on Spheeres, then you look at the other side of the connection, and you see that Spheeres Netherlands has a lot of people involved. They do not have to be employees, because I can tell you that Peter Engineer is not working with us, and this guy is not working with us either. But you can have all kind of reasons of people that want to be involved in your company. So all these lists that you see up here can be changed by yourselves. You see here, for instance, that there is a view on the database, and when I click another view, I get another layout with other data that you can use and modify. Because now already the first designer clicks in. This is available for all users, and you can just say here, I want to edit this grid. And doing that, you see I was looking at companies, and inside the companies were the contacts, and I'm looking at the addresses also. And the addresses are placed in a window, meaning that this is a subgrid, which I will show you in a minute. For the rest, when you want to select fields, you find here all the fields that are in the database, and you can just add fields that you want to add. The same thing for companies that are all in the system already, and the address data. And for the rest,
Eric,
if you want to, sorry,
yeah, can you back a little bit? I will explain it in our language. Back a little bit to the yes. Jadi teman-teman, saya bantu menjelaskan aja ya, mungkin teman-teman kalau ada yang tadi tertinggal. Jadi yang kalau ditampilkan di awal tadi itu adalah tampilan awal dari spheeres.com. Nah, kebetulan di sini itu memang yang digunakan itu adalah sudah menjadi contoh yang sudah jadi. Jadi di sini teman-teman nantinya itu menggunakan sistem CRM ataupun sistem yang mungkin teman-teman yang sudah familiar itu kita tidak akan banyak menggunakan coding di sini. Jadi kita akan lebih berfokus kepada untuk desain sistemnya, desain database, dan juga untuk desain untuk form ataupun tampilan dari interface-nya. Nah, yang tadi barusan diberikan contoh ini adalah Eric menunjukkan bahwa teman-teman itu bisa mengatur sendiri untuk tampilan-tampilannya. Seperti tadi untuk yang tulisan yang dia berwarna biru dan bergaris itu akan bentuknya adalah link, di mana link ini yang akan mengarahkan teman-teman untuk menuju ke seluruh data yang berhubungan dengan data tersebut. Jadi kayak tadi yang diberi contoh, kalau kita mengklik pada Eric Stock, maka dia akan menampilkan seluruh data, seperti mungkin data dia bekerja di company mana, lalu dia mungkin kalau dia sedang memegang project itu project apa saja yang dia pegang, ataupun yang lain-lain. Nah, perlu ditekankan lagi di sini, ini kan sebuah contoh, di mana ini tuh mau menunjukkan ke teman-teman kalau sistem ini itu bisa diatur sesuai dengan desain yang teman-teman inginkan. Jadi teman-teman di sini, seperti ini contoh untuk desain database-nya ataupun desain form-nya yang ingin ditampilkan. Jadi teman-teman di sini itu bisa melakukan seperti contohnya teman-teman join database nih kan. Biasanya kalau kita join database kan teman-teman harus melakukan dengan mungkin query dan kawan-kawan, tapi di sini ditunjukkan dengan teman-teman tinggal melakukan drag and drop ataupun memilih saja mau dijoinkan dengan apa data ini, seperti itu. Nah, ini contohnya ini untuk desain database-nya. Okay, Eric, you can continue again. Maybe you can explain a little bit, and then I will explain it also in my language. So maybe it will be more helping for the contestant in here.
Yeah, you sound like a perfect teacher, Cynthia.
Thank you.
So what we were looking at was the query builder, and this query builder, you will see that quite a lot on different places in the application. It is always the same. You can build these things yourselves before. If I want, for instance, the addresses from companies, I can just say here, I want to link a table called addresses. And that's what it will do. It will link addresses, and here I have the addresses of contacts, and now I also have the addresses of companies, and I can just add here the street number, postal code, city, I have 4 fields, and I put it in a group as well. So now I have 2 groups, and I'll show you in a minute what that means. So for the rest, you can put all kind of filters up and filter all the fields, and you can even, for the people that know SQL a bit, you can make in select queries. So you can embed queries in other queries, and that makes it very powerful, this query builder. Another thing you can do is you can drag around the fields and the columns orders that you want. You can have all kind of selections for adding data or whatever, and set a priority, because this screen will run on a tablet and on the smartphone. So, but the smartphone obviously cannot contain all the fields, so you can set here the priority for appearance. So that means if it has a lower priority on a telephone, you won't see it, but on a PC you will. It's a couple of important things to remember and to handle. And what we have also, what is very important, is I can make such a query, but I do not want to bother everybody that is working on the system. So therefore, you can share this query. You see here, I'm the owner, but I have given it free for everyone. So everyone can use it, but I have created it. And if I don't want it and I want to keep it for myself, I just throw off everyone. And now I can only see the query that I have been creating. So that's one of the security layers. It's sharing security, and the addresses that we just added are not visible over here. And that's because I have here a plus sign, and in the plus sign I will find that there is no company address at the moment, but there is 2 person addresses available at the moment. So each of those windows you just saw are subgrids that you can open just by clicking this button. If you have no subgrid, then it will just put a lot of fields on the same line, and you get very long lines. But anyways, it's a kind of it's a little bit of what we can do with Spheeres. What you see on each screen is on the right top corner is the status of this card of Spheeres Netherlands at the moment. When it says enable disabled, there is no workflow connected. But if there is a workflow connected, you will see here the status in the flow. And for instance, when I look at this person's card, it's not available. But open this, and you see that there's a whole lot of applications and systems available. Mind you, when we first deliver Spheeres to somebody, the choice is to have some applications in there or to have just an empty database. And then, of course, the menu is completely empty. But that's a choice that we make when we set up a new database for a customer. Applications on this side. On this side, there is some things unexplained. I can set here my settings, do passwords, play around with colors, do all kinds of settings. This one is an important one for the time zone settings, which will undoubtedly be different in Indonesia. So you have to put your code in here. We can do some notifications. Well, this is all things that I will not handle at this moment. For the rest, what is important is that we have deduplication, which is based on internal matching of data. So if you find double names, you can deduplicate them. We have, this is an important part, we have downloads. Download, you see that S down here, and that means that you can download documents from our central server directly to your desktop. But also you can connect Outlook for mail synchronization, for mail import, and for sending mails. When you have a question, just do report issue, and then you can make a selection of the screen that you want to send to us. You say share, and a screen is being built. You can put in here the summary, and over here what your question is, and then you say send ticket, and the whole thing picture and all the texts are going to be transferred to our help desk database, and you get your answers from there.
Oke, Eric ya? Sorry.
Yeah,
Jadi
sure, go
teman-teman
ahead.
yang barusan dijelasin itu adalah untuk help desk. Jadi nanti teman-teman yang mau mengerjakan untuk Spheeres ini menggunakan platform ini, tenang aja kalau nanti teman-teman stuck dengan satu fitur ataupun teman-teman punya kesulitan, itu teman-teman bisa langsung screenshot aja. Mungkin error ataupun ada problem apa yang teman-teman hadapi, dan teman-teman bisa jelasin di situ, nanti akan dibantu jawab oleh tim helpdesk, seperti itu ya. Oke, you can continue again.
Yeah, can I go on?
Yes, you can continue.
Okay. One more important thing that you will find in this menu is the wiki. In the wiki is especially for developers. There you will find, in fact, the whole system, and you can look things up over here. So if you want to look for the query builder, for instance, then you find all kinds of subjects that go about the query builder. And you can just get a lot of data and a lot of explanation from the query builder. You see there is 11 pages already, but if I think that I put this in here, then the number of pages shrinks, and you'll see that there's a lot of very dedicated data to the problems that you might want to find. Just try it out. It's really in-depth information of the things that you can do with Spheeres. Maybe you translate that, Cynthia?
Yes, sorry, Eric.
Maybe you can tell about the wiki, because that I think is very important for the people that want to learn.
Ya. Jadi teman-teman, selain tadi ada helpdesk, di sini juga sudah disediakan untuk wikinya ya. Jadi selain dari video manual yang sudah kami uploadkan di website Elo Kreatif, di sini di websitenya spheeres.com ini juga sudah disediakan wiki, di mana teman-teman kalau melihat di wiki sini, teman-teman bisa pakai kolom search di sini, teman-teman bisa cari teman-teman mau membuat apa, tentunya dalam bahasa Inggris, dan juga nanti teman-teman bisa mendapatkan penjelasan tentang step-step apa yang perlu teman-teman lakukan. Seperti tadi contohnya kalau semama ingin membuat suatu mau memodifikasi untuk query buildernya, itu nanti teman-teman tinggal ketikkan saja, dari situ sudah ada untuk petunjuknya. Itu nanti di luar yang dari yang sudah kami share di website ya, karena di website juga itu sudah lebih lengkap lagi, step by step, dan juga sudah dalam bentuk video. Oke, Edwin. Sorry, Eric, you can continue again.
Okay. Well, as you can see, there is a lot of applications. I won't dive into them at this moment. That's because it will take too much time. But if somebody is interested, I can always give you a demo later on. Then there's also resources where you can find the agenda of Spheeres that is fully synchronized up and down with Outlook, with Exchange, and via an Outlook via Exchange again. We have documents inserted in the database. We have reports, mails are stored in the database. You can build your templates. So there's a lot of underpinning stuff for what you want to build. For the rest, you'll find, if you are a super user, because people will not see the entire menu, it's based on the role and the security settings that you have. So when I look at system, that's only for the super user, and I think the most important thing is the user accounts, and that's also for you guys, because the first thing probably that you will do is give the people access that are in your team. There is a short movie about that, so I recommend you to look at the movie. It's better than telling it now and forgetting it next week again. So look at the movie for that, please.
Oke, jadi teman-teman nanti di sini, teman-teman itu akan diberikan akses untuk setiap tim itu adalah masing-masing memiliki satu database sendiri-sendiri. Jadi nanti teman-teman setelah teman-teman mendaftar dan juga teman-teman sudah fix untuk, timnya, jadi seperti panduan, tim itu harus terdiri hanya dari 3 orang ya, dengan, masing-masing jobnya. Di mana itu nanti, teman-teman bisa atur tadi untuk pengaturan user account, untuk memberikan role apa yang akan diberikan kepada user tersebut ataupun untuk teman-teman menambahkan user. Di mana untuk penambahan user ataupun manajemen user ini tadi juga sudah ada di video yang sudah kami sediakan di link yang terdapat di website LO Kreatif. Jadi nanti di sini tidak akan dijelaskan lebih, lanjut. Nanti tapi teman-teman bisa langsung mengarah pada video yang ada di website LO Kreatif. Oke, continue Erik.
Okay. Before I dive into the designers, there's two things that I want to show you. It's because it's really visual and you can see what you can do with Spheeres there. So, for instance, when we look at this part, this is also what you saw before, my daily stuff page. But this daily stuff page contains a lot of other information, and you can really put these things in a personal way together. So you see here a BI, for instance, that is available and that you can use to make your own screens. You see here contact lists, you see RSS feeds, everything that you want to get your attention. And you can just modify it by saying, okay, I want an agenda over here, and then I get an agenda. So there's a lot of ways to alter this screen for your purpose. This is also a screen that is for another purpose again, and you will find that there is, in this case, all kind of results from all the flows that are running, because here you see all the outstanding quotes, for instance, and it's a lot of appearances just to give you a little smack of what is possible. One more thing that I'm going to show you is this thing, and no, that is this thing, sorry. And when I go here to quotes, then you can see how you can build your quotes in a graphical way. So I have here, these are quote data. And when I push the quote thing, you see that we have a product configurator, which is just part of the application, which you can insert everywhere. And in that thing, I can say, okay, there is solar screens, there is all kind of window frames, there is terraces, there is for keeping flies outside. I don't know the word in English, but there's all kind of things that you might want to choose. And let's say I do the solar screen, knikkermscherm van de firma Bruster, and I take a B25. Then you can configure the whole thing in here. So you can say it's 3,000 and 1,500, and then it gets you the price. So it builds the quote over here. And you can do a lot of selections. This is the way it is built. You can select colors. You can select the colors in extents. So this is a large color collection. And this is being used to make quotes from very complex products, because you have a lot of selections to make, and normally you take it all from a catalog, and now you have it all together, and everything is created automatically, as well the quote as a sales order, as the purchase orders, as everything that comes after that. Okay, maybe a short translation, Cynthia, and then I'll go to the designers.
Oke, jadi teman-teman tadi yang sudah dicontohkan oleh Erik itu tadi di awal dia menunjukkan untuk my daily activities, right? Could you show me the my daily activities one? My daily stuff, sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So when I dive into the designers, then you find all the things that I showed on the slide before. There's a database designer, there's a form designer, there's a network designer, there's a field collection designer to put security on fields, a data wizard, a function designer, the SBI designer, which is business intelligence, and for the rest, lookups and things. But I think at this moment, the database designer is where it mostly starts, because then you can, from the database designer, you can already determine a lot of things that have to happen. It's
Eric,
not one of
sorry.
the fastest.
Eric, sorry.
Yep.
I not yet finished to explain. Could you back a little bit in the
Okay.
interface of the my daily stuff, the one that you showed us before?
The what, sorry?
The my daily stuff.
This one.
Yes. Nah, jadi ini teman-teman, ini adalah contoh tampilan yang bisa teman-teman desain di sini. Jadi teman-teman yang mungkin nanti bertugas di bagian desain itu nanti bisa untuk membuat desain untuk tampilan apa saja sih yang mau ditampilkan di halaman seumpama di My Daily Stuff seperti ini ya. Nah, di sini nanti teman-teman bisa untuk menambahkan seperti mungkin dari database, seperti contohnya nih kalau kita bicara tentang platform yang digunakan untuk memberikan fasilitas untuk internship. Nah, mungkin teman-teman bisa memberikan contoh di sini ada grafik nih, ternyata untuk yang tertarik untuk internship itu berapa persen sih yang dari jurusan mungkin TI ataupun SI ataupun apa. Nah, di sini tuh teman-teman bisa pilih untuk dia mau ditampilkan dalam bentuk apa. Jadi di sini teman-teman sudah disediakan untuk grafiknya, nanti tinggal teman-teman link-kan dengan database-nya. Nah, dari situ nanti itu teman-teman bisa atur dan juga ini nanti yang akan menjadi desain yang harus dibuat oleh teman-teman juga. Nah, ini kalau contohnya tadi ini kan lebih kepada contoh dari sistem untuk manajemen ataupun penjualan dari mungkin furniture seperti itu kan. Tadi makanya diberikan contoh untuk bagaimana dia bisa untuk membuat quotes di sini ataupun quotation gitu ya. Jadi kayak seumpama dia membuat penawaran untuk mungkin pembelian AC dengan warna apa, spesifikasi apa. Nah, di situ semua untuk daftarnya itu ataupun sistemnya itu sudah dibuat dari langsung diautomatisasi. Jadi teman-teman nggak perlu untuk melakukan lagi coding di sini. Teman-teman benar-benar tinggal untuk mendesain database-nya dan juga untuk mendesain dari desain aplikasi dan juga dari desain flow-nya saja seperti itu. Okay, Eric, you can continue to the database.
Yeah, okay. So what I'll show you now is the designers, and one of the designers is the database designer. So you do never see the database server itself. Everything you do with the database is done via our interface. So what you see up here is all the tables, and you can recognize them in menus if you look beside them. So you see over here companies. There is a correlation, and all the tables that are over here, you'll find up here as well. So that means that these are all the links in between the tables. And you see there, what I said already, there's an end-to-end relationship. So that means one company to more contacts and one contact to more companies. You can do it either way. There is a lot of data in this database. And when I want to see, for instance, the fields that are in contacts, I just click it and you get here all the fields that are in contacts. And I will create now a field. So I will throw away this one called Pete. We don't need it anymore. And we can just add a field, and we say, for instance, I make a new text field and it's called LO Creative. And that's all I have to do. I have just to say it adds to this collection of data, and then I save it, and then I can just use the field. I just have to say save it in the dictionary and update the database. This is not one of the fastest things to do, but normally you don't do that for one field, but you can do it for a whole lot of fields together. And you see over here, I'm going to create that field, say update in the database, and then it is available for further processing. So building a database is really quite simple. And I will try to do another thing very briefly right now, but I might take a little bit more time for that. But if you want to make a new table, you just say new, and I make a table called causes, add the default security to it, and then it says, I'm going to create these fields. Is that all right? Yes, I say it's okay. So now I have a table called causes. And suppose I want to link that to companies and to contacts, then I just click this field and say, okay, main and sort, and over here, once more, main and sort. The explanation is in the movies that I have been sending you. So now I'm creating 3 tables at one point in time with a lot of fields, and I say save again. And that is stored in the database, in the data dictionary. Remember the architecture picture that I showed you earlier. That's where it is stored now. And the next step is to store it into the database again. So that's what I'm doing now. It says, oops, I'm going to make all this. Okay, go ahead, update. And then it is the data dictionary creates the database for me. So that goes pretty quickly, and now I can start building screens on top of it already. To show the outline and the first instance for building things is quite rapidly. What you can see up here, for instance, is that there is a number of columns back here. And when I look, for instance, at projects, then you'll see I have 4 types of projects. A project, project phase, time, small, and there is a hierarchy which you can influence up here. And when I do this, the screens are immediately responding. So I can never make a project phase on its own now. It has to be linked to a project. But now not anymore. I can just make a project phase without a project. That's what it says up here. A lot of other data because it's very object oriented. And I have here now that object project, which is a sub of the projects table. So in the projects table, I have 4 objects and each object has its own workflow. So over here for the project, I can create a workflow, how to go through the system. I can do that also for a project phase. It's a different flow. And for time, small, there is no flow. So you determine yourself how to execute this. You see up here these light flashes. And when I click on this thing, you see that means that there is a trigger on this item in the database. This triggers a function in the data wizard, so you can move data around by just going to this step. Then this is automatically executed, and you find the result in the database and in the screens. Is this a good point to do some translation, Cynthia? Okay. So that is what you can do over here. For the rest, there's business roles, and then you see up here the statuses again that are in the database defined. And then I can say, for instance, the account manager is responsible here, and also for the quote. But the work preparator has to plan the system, and he waits for execution, and then it goes back to the account manager. And now I have the whole flow configured because the action will go from person to person depending on the status of, in this case, the project.
Okay, Eric, maybe I will help to translate it a little
Sure.
bit. Jadi teman-teman
Sure.
di sini tadi kan sudah ditunjukkan untuk bagaimana contoh dalam mengatur untuk database desainnya. Jadi teman-teman di sini nantinya salah satu yang akan menjadi salah satu kriteria penilaian adalah bagaimana untuk desain database dari teman-teman juga. Jadi tadi sudah dicontohkan untuk bagaimana cara membuat tabel, lalu bagaimana untuk cara membuat link untuk ke tabel lain atau biasa di sini kalau teman-teman mungkin yang belajar tentang query mungkin bagaimana untuk membuat foreign key di situ. Nah, selain itu kalau teman-teman lebih masuk lagi ke dalam sistemnya untuk ataupun ke dalam tabelnya, di situ sudah ada juga untuk bagaimana mengatur untuk bisnis flow-nya ataupun bagaimana untuk mengatur sistem flow-nya. Di sini sudah ada untuk desainer, teman-teman sudah bisa untuk mengecek, dan juga tadi sudah ditunjukkan untuk bagaimana mengatur bisnis role-nya. Jadi nanti untuk seumpama nih kalau nanti contohnya kalau teman-teman lagi membuat sebuah bisnis flow untuk sistem penerimaan internship mungkin dari mahasiswa, nanti harus dicek dulu di mungkin adminnya, lalu nanti dari admin baru dia kemana, dan kemana, itu nanti bisa diatur di sini. Plus nanti juga bisa ada untuk semama teman-teman mau tambahkan trigger di situ. Jadi setiap kali ada penambahan maka dia akan langsung melakukan satu function yang sudah di-trigger seperti itu. Nah, untuk masalah detail-detail seperti database itu hampir sama teman-teman seperti kalau teman-teman pelajari biasa di kampus pada umumnya, yaitu untuk pelajaran SQL. Nah, sistemnya hampir sama, tapi memang di sini dia lebih untuk tampilannya dipermudah lagi. Jadi teman-teman nggak perlu harus query, teman-teman tinggal bisa melakukan menambahkan seperti ini. Seperti itu. Jadi tidak harus query, tapi sudah ada untuk fasilitasnya. Oke, Eric, you can continue again.
Okay, what I've been just doing is just adding a new note, and you can right away put this note into action, so you don't have to wait for anything. As soon as we save it, the screens are bordered by this new flow. So that's a lot of things you can do, and it's just based on the objects that you create in the database. It's also for when you look at contacts, they are connected to companies. And when I open this, then you find the fields that describe the link. So it's the contact company link, and you see there's a job title, there's a start and end date. Well, you can put any field in there that you want. We have 4 types of fields. We have entities, link fields, we have drop-downs, and we have what you see up here, and that is subtables. And there is subtables that are factual tables, like an image table. You can store images that are directly transferred from the camera on your tablet, PC, or phone, so you can store them right away. But you also see these things, and they look like tables, but they are not tables because it's views. There is a SQL statement underneath that creates the fields, and this way you can make all kinds of statistics from the database and add them to your database. That's really what you're doing up here. Okay, it's brief. There's much more to tell, but I switch now to the form designer, Cynthia.
Oke, jadi teman-teman tadi itu penjelasan untuk database-nya. Tadi seperti teman-teman bisa lihat juga di situ ada yang bisa untuk membuat bukan dalam bentuk tabel, tapi dia dalam bentuk view. Nah, jadi tadi kalau teman-teman klik di menunya juga teman-teman bisa lihat kalau dia dibentuk dalam bentuk suatu query itu bentuknya seperti apa. Nah, view ini nanti bisa digunakan tadi dihubungkan ke depan untuk bagaimana dia bisa melakukan ataupun ditampilkan dalam bentuk grafik seperti itu ya. Nah, untuk selanjutnya ini kita akan membahas tentang bagaimana untuk membuat form designer. Nah, saya ingatkan lagi buat teman-teman untuk video manualnya sudah ada di website, di link yang ada di website, jadi teman-teman bisa lihat di situ, ataupun kalau teman-teman ada pertanyaan, nanti teman-teman bisa ajukan lewat helpdesk ataupun lewat kami seperti itu. Okay, you can continue again, Eric, with the form designer.
Yeah. Okay. Then we have the form designer. When I go to the form designer and I say here, I want the contacts page, then you see there's a lot of contact screens. But what I want at this moment is, for instance, the consult screen. But there's also a repeatable screen, a list screen, a portlet. Portlets are the screens that you saw on the first page. So all the blocks on the first page, my daily stuff, you can build yourself over here. But anyways, when I look at the consult screen, then what you get is the layout of the consult screen. You can just move around with all data on the consult screen. And down here, you see all the grids that are below it. For instance, the projects that we looked on earlier. So I can, in the toolbox, I can find all data that are connected via the database designer to other entities. And you see up here also projects. So when I want to add a field from projects, I can just drag it over there, and it will be displayed up there. So you can change the way it looks here. Each grid has a lot of properties. You can say show, you can do all kinds of searches, you can hide, put all kinds of buttons on it. And what is very important, you can make your query rules again, so you can filter each grid the way you want to. And last but not least, you have the query builder on the operational side that you can use there as well. So, okay, and that applies also on each field. There's a lot of properties behind that you can set, reset, change, whatever you want. That is the fields up here. But when we close this, you will see that there are also templates. And in the templates, you find, for instance, buttons. And if I want a dashboard over here, I just put a dashboard button up there. And when I want to do something else, I go, for instance, to controls. And you see that I can put the whole product configurator, I can just put here on screen. And the only thing I have to do, I have to link it to the article table, and then it's functional and operational. But also when you want, for instance, a Gantt chart, or you want iframes, or there's a lot of different controls, setting signatures on documents that you can use for building your screens. Also, what you see up here is a group, and then we go to the group screen, and you see there's the grids. So when I want to have another grid up here, I can just drag the grid up there. But there's also spreadsheets, and you see an example up here. This is a spreadsheet, and the only thing you have to do up here is set the dimensions with the values, and you have a spreadsheet that is linked to your database and that you can just use. So it's very fast to make pretty complex screens, and the way I'm doing it now is the way you can do it later on. And that means also that you can, if you make a mistake or you do something, you want to do something else, you can modify it on the fly. That's a very important thing to know, and it is really possible with Spheeres. There's a number of other controls, but look in the wiki and in the other documentation to see what that exactly does. This is what I wanted to show you over here. I skip the network and field collection designer for now, and then I go to the data wizard. Oh, no, that's, I wanted to show you one thing, of course. Contact once more. Because we just created a field, and that was in the contacts table. So if it is, there's Hello Creative. So if I want it on a screen, it's now on the screen. It's now operational. I just have to save it, and you can use that field in the screen. Okay. Then we go to the function designer. No, sorry, data wizard.
Okay. Eric, can I translate a little bit?
Sure, go ahead.
Ya, jadi teman-teman tadi adalah contoh untuk bagaimana dalam cara penggunaan form designer. Jadi bagaimana untuk nanti membuat form itu sendiri. Nah, sistemnya itu juga sudah lebih mudah. Jadi teman-teman bisa langsung drag and drop dari tabel tentang apa informasi yang ingin ditampilkan ataupun mungkin kolom yang ingin ditampilkan. Atau teman-teman juga bisa menambahkan dari button di sini. Jadi untuk merubah itu teman-teman tinggal drag and drop aja, dan juga untuk setting nanti untuk seperti tampilan yang menggunakan tulisan apa atau tulisan apa itu juga bisa langsung diklik saja untuk menampilkannya. Nah, itu nanti untuk form designer itu nanti yang akan bertugas itu adalah yang memiliki role untuk designer. Nah, untuk, selanjutnya teman-teman, mungkin, tidak perlu terlalu menaruh banyak perhatian pada network designer ataupun field collection designer, karena di sini kami tidak akan, menjelaskan secara full untuk sistemnya, tapi intinya ada beberapa poin seperti tadi database designer ataupun form designer yang harus teman-teman desain di sini. Nah, ini tadi diberikan contoh bagaimana kalau dia sudah ditambahkan, maka nanti dia di, tampilannya itu sudah akan berubah seperti yang tadi kita tambahkan. Eric, could you, maybe show us like after you adding the Hello Creative in there and then after you save it, it will be, shown in the, context,
Sure. There's just one more thing I have to do because this is the consult screen. It is a read-only screen, but I have another screen, and that's the edit screen. So I'll put it up there as well. Then you can see the difference that makes. So it's Hello Creative. I put it down here. Say save. And when I go now to the contacts page, then you will see that Hello Creative is here, and I can just edit it and say in Hello Creative, I can say hello, 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 and there is hello, and there's also hello now. So that field is now completely operational. Okay.
Oke, jadi teman-teman tadi kalau, bisa ditambahkan ya, jadi kan tadi yang ditambahkan itu bukan cuma dari, view-nya aja, tapi dari edit-nya juga. Jadi kalau, maksudnya dari input-nya juga, jadi nanti bisa ditambahkan untuk data yang ditampilkan ataupun form yang harus diisikan, seperti itu. Oke, Eric, you can continue with the data wizard.
Going to the following designers, you get more and more into the hardcore of the application. So if you look at Eric, for instance, I can create data packages. This data package called Eric is not defined yet because I never save it in order to do the demonstrations. But what you see up here is I have a source and I have a destination. So suppose I want to import a spreadsheet, and I get that spreadsheet up here. And then it tells me that there is normally, yeah, it tells me that there is data in there, and it shows me the columns of the spreadsheet. On the other side, I say I have the companies because it doesn't look like company data. It is contact data. So I take the contact table, and then I open the contact table, and you see all the fields, and I can just say name goes to name, and first name goes to first name. And this is a way to import a spreadsheet, and you can save then this package, and you can redo it every time again. And you can even, if there is a key in here, which is number, if you say I want the next spreadsheet to update the data up here, that you can do by just connecting the number to the key of the record, and then when you take the second spreadsheet, it will update the data in the database. That's one thing you can do, but besides that, I hope I have that function up here. It's not sound what I'm doing at the moment, but it is just a example. I have now added a function that is already in the database, and these functions you can create yourselves. And then you can see, for instance, suppose that I want to put this here and that there, then you can do all kinds of conversions of the data on the fly. So while importing spreadsheets, it does a lot of things over here, and it gives you a different value up here. What we use it for very frequently is you get here a street and a name, a street and a house number in one field, and here it's separated in two fields. So you can make all these corrections up here. You can make this very complex, and there is a lot of data available because what we see here is that you have a database to a database, a spreadsheet to a spreadsheet, but you can also make queries and put them to a spreadsheet, or get APIs to do things for you and link them to a trigger. So suppose I have here a trigger and I have here an API. then I can just say, do this, and now when the trigger occurs, then this function is going to be executed with this data inside. So a lot of options, a lot of opportunities, and two more things I want to show to you. One of them is the function designer, where you can build these functions. And the function that I just showed you was the vis function, not the view, but the vis function. And then you see it has 3 methods. When I select this method, you see the method has 7 inputs and 5 outputs. And in between, there is some code. And this is finally the C# code. It's just a little bit because it uses all the functions from Spheeres. So you can have very compact functions up here to make very complex functions. And that is how you build functions, but you need to have some C# knowledge for that. This is only 2, 3, 4% of an application that you want to build. So it's very minor, but you can do very nice things with it.
Oke, mungkin saya bisa jelaskan lagi di sini, Eric. Could I also explain a little bit for the contestant also? Jadi teman-teman di sini ini adalah untuk data wizard ini lebih sama seperti kalau kita ingin menggabungkan ataupun memanage untuk bagaimana cara masing-masing antar data itu dapat terhubung. Seperti tadi contohnya itu kalau teman-teman punya fitur seperti mungkin inputannya dalam bentuk Excel, tapi teman-teman ingin menyimpannya dalam database, maka di situ nanti teman-teman bisa melakukan seperti ini, kalau dari Excel kolomnya itu adalah kolom nama, nanti dimasukkan ke dalam database kontak itu adalah dalam kolom nama kontak, seperti itu. Nah, selain itu juga di sini juga bisa menambahkan untuk function-nya. Jadi kalau tadi seperti namanya di sini low code, jadi memang tidak sepenuhnya semuanya diautomatisasi, memang ada sedikit code di sini yang teman-teman harus buat. Nah, kalau buat teman-teman yang sudah belajar untuk di bidang SI ataupun IT, mungkin sudah tidak asing dengan function ya. Jadi mungkin function di sini nanti dibuatnya dalam bentuk di data wizard ini. Jadi bagaimana untuk dari satu data input nanti diberikan function dan output apa yang ingin didapatkan, seperti itu. Nah, contohnya nanti tadi yang sudah diberi contoh seperti kalau kita ingin menambahkan nama nih ya, nama lengkap dari data Excel, terus kita nanti berikan function untuk bagaimana dia bisa memisahkan antara nama depan dan nama belakang, sehingga nanti dia bisa disimpan di dalam database, itu nanti bisa nama depan siapa, nama belakang siapa. Nah, itu hampir sama seperti proses yang teman-teman rata-rata lakukan saat membuat sebuah sistem. Nah, tapi memang di sini sedikit dibutuhkan kemampuan untuk bisa bahasa pemrograman Sharp, tapi teman-teman tidak diharuskan di sini ya. Dalam artian ini nanti kalau teman-teman bisa mengaplikasikan itu akan menambahkan nilai poin buat teman-teman, tapi kita tidak mengharuskan juga teman-teman sampai membuat untuk function ataupun di bagian untuk codingnya. Jadi teman-teman bisa berfokus untuk di bagian untuk bagaimana mendesain flow-nya dan juga bagaimana untuk mendesain database-nya dan juga tampilan form-nya di sini. Oke, Eric, you can continue to explain again.
Okay, I think for as far as I'm concerned at this moment, it's the last part of what I'm going to tell you, and that is the business intelligence designer. In here you can build your own graphs, and I have here, for instance, let's see what results this will give. But I have here a dashboard that has been built, and you can get all kind of different data that come out of the database, and you can use all kind of graphs and relationships and cards and deviations and proportions and all kind of ways to put your dashboard together. It is you build it on the Spheeres database, but you can also build on external databases. You can define your data sources of external databases, and maybe I have one here. I am not sure, but I think that this one is corona disease. This one is not operational anymore, but here we have an example. Let's see what it does. No, it's not. No. I have no external ones at the moment, but believe me that you can do that. It can just put all kind of databases together in order to give you all the graphical information that you want to have. And it's a very powerful module. It compares really good with Power BI. It's just embedded completely in the Spheeres application, which makes Spheeres very powerful on that side as well. So I think this is what I wanted to tell you. I hope that you found it attractive to see. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. If you have questions afterwards, in documentation is also my email address.
Okay.
And you can also put questions. Sorry.
Okay, thank you very much, Eric, for the explanation. And also, we are going to continue with a little bit of maybe some question time for the next. So,
Sure. Sure.
Eric, there is some contestant that asking if they can also get some like a simple example of the system that already made, so they can like maybe they can also learn from there, and also maybe they can like investigate from them. Is it is there gonna be also an example in there in the system, or
It's
you're
all
gonna give,
examples.
or
So
you
what
gonna?
I showed you,
I mean,
earlier.
I mean for the individual database. Like we said before, that every team is gonna be get some individual database that they need to design and they need to make.
Yeah. So you want to show me to make something?
Yeah, maybe you can also like giving them the example that they can try by themselves.
Yeah, I do have a document here, but that is in Dutch. I will try to translate that as well. But to elaborate on that a little bit, we have just been creating a table called casus, and when I go now to the form designer and I say I want a screen to be designed for casus, then I just enter that, and you see nothing found. That's correct because there are no screens yet. So I say add, and let's say I want to construct a consult screen, and then it's okay. And I take the table that I just created called casus. Then it is okay, and you get here a framework of what that screen should look like. And then you can just start to populate it. I want a name on there. I want to see the type, for instance. I want to see the alias. I want to see the life status. There's not too many more fields, but I could have inserted a lot of fields up here. And then what I need, of course, is some buttons. So I go to the buttons section and I say I want to be able to add the record. I want to edit it. I want a list to be found. Maybe some making mistakes. I want to be able to delete it. Maybe I want a special screen. Well, you can put these all on your screen and just save it. But what I want to do is some grids down here. So if I go then to controls, groups, and I say I put the tab control up there, and please initialize it for me. Then it says, okay, you have obviously companies, contacts, and user accounts. Well, that is correct. That are the tables that are linked. User accounts is security. I don't want to see that. And over here, there's quite a lot of fields. So I can just say I don't want to see these ones, and the rest I do want to see. So you can modify the screen. And now what I've done, I have created a consult screen. So I say save. and the consult screen is there. What I need more is an edit screen, and then you see there's only consult screen, so I say add again, and in this case I want the edit screen, and the edit screen is now here, save. And I do the same again, but the only fields, because the other fields were system fields, so they're being inserted automatically. And I have here only a name and a search environment. And that is all I need at the moment. Buttons are there already, so I can say save. And I have now an edit screen, and I have a consult screen. So when I look now in the menu, then I will find down here in the menu cases, because now there are screens, and then you'll find it back in the system. When I select it, it says no records found. That's correct. So I can say add, and I say it's Eric, hello, and I have a whole story for you, and it is here. And I want to do that in bold, and well, it's a HTML environment. And I can just say save. And then when I look for the record, I didn't set the security. That's then not a wonderful thing to do, but the security now makes sure that I don't see the data, because I have no rights on the table yet. And that's what I'll show you in the user account. So I am Eric Stolk, and I have here a group called Everyone, and in Everyone I have cases, and there the cases are enabled, but then I look in the profile, which is the record security, and in the record security I have it enabled for the user. And what I can do, for instance, is say for now that I just want to override the security, and only the super user can do that. So he can look without the security. And then when I look at the screen again, then I will get my console screen with the name Eric in it. Well, the type we did not set yet. We can do that in the database designer. You see here that it is enabled, the records. And when I say over here, I want to disable it, then it is disabled. And then it goes to the background. So there's a lot of things you can do up here, and that are all automatically inserted. So when I want to add a company to Eric, then I can use these buttons already. So I can create a new company or an existing company. And when I say Vostek, for instance, then the company Vostek is added in the list. And so I can add, for a number of reasons, a lot of companies. And I can make a field up here saying why. But then you have to make a field then that says why you are linking this to that system, to Eric. So this is an example of what you can do, and you see, well, it's two screens. They have been created quite rapidly, and with this you can make the first setup of your application very fast. And when you have that available, you can really start thinking on what do I want to do with a workflow, for instance. So then I go back to the designer and go to the database designer. And when I am in the database designer, I can just create a workflow for the system. And I do that by adding I need then a type. So I have, for instance, a type called incident. And I have a type called problem. And these are inserted right now. And when I go for, I can save them. And you see there's two now here. So when I go to incident, then I can start to make an incident flow. Well, the first thing you always need is something that creates an action for you. And you link it. This is explained in the film that is on the in the website that you can access. And when you look up here, you see that there's a database trigger because there's a function underneath that creates for you the action. Then you can say up here, the first status is over here. For instance, created. I have created a new case. And then somebody is going to take it and do something with it, and then it is operational. So it's what you might call open. That's not that one, it's that one. Open. And when you have resolved it, then under certain conditions, you can close it. So then it is closed. And it's very short, and in practice, it will be much more than this. And then you say this one is retired, meaning it's the last stage. This one is operational, and this one is planned. So now I have here a flow available, and this flow is now operational in the system, except for the fact that I still have to do this. And in order to do that, I have to save it first and go back to it. When you look at the movie workflow in the website, then you see how these workflows are built in more detail. So when I go back to this now, and I am in incident, and I go over here, then you see that when I click this, I am in the data wizard. And you see there is a trigger on this step, and that trigger starts this function called create initial action. So that is all that is done automatically. And then I know what the example is called, and this is called a starting case. This may be a bit of abracadabra for you, but look at the movie and then you see why I'm doing this. So now I have completely built a screen with a workflow inside. It has been saved, and I can close it now, and I save this, and now I have fully operational workflow available. So yeah, well, you see, when you have a little bit of handiness, you can do these kind of things extremely quickly.
Okay, thank you, Eric, for the explanation, Eric.
Sure.
Maybe I will help in here since actually ini buat teman-teman. Jadi kalau yang mau minta untuk contohnya di sini memang kami tidak bisa memberikan untuk contoh yang seperti dicontohkan di sini ya, karena kan ini sudah dalam bentuk satu sistem yang sangat kompleks dan besar, di mana database-nya sendiri sudah ada bermacam-macam. Jadi tadi sudah ditunjukkan oleh Eric untuk bagaimana cara untuk membuat kayak satu business flow sederhana, dan teman-teman juga bisa untuk nanti melihat dari video manualnya yang sudah diberikan. Jadi di sini, Eric, can I take the screen for you for the explanation about the video that you provide us, and also some of the explanation? Can I take the share screen?
Can you, sorry, what?
Can I take the share screen? I want to share my screen for the
Yeah, go ahead.
Oke, teman-teman, jadi di sini teman-teman tadi yang mungkin ketinggalan tentang penjelasannya ataupun ketinggalan tadi itu, kami di sini sudah menyediakan ya teman-teman. Jadi nanti silahkan dicek masing-masing, di mana di sini tadi sudah ada penjelasan. Jadi di sini ada 7 video dan juga ada beberapa penjelasan di sini, di mana nanti teman-teman bisa lihat di tips and tricks mungkin untuk beberapa penjelasan seperti bentuk arsitekturnya seperti apa, ataupun beberapa hal yang mungkin harus diperhatikan. Lalu di sini untuk video juga teman-teman di sini udah ada untuk movie program index-nya, ataupun di sini teman-teman tinggal lihat di bagian movie program index. Di sini untuk masing-masing seperti di film yang pertama ataupun di video yang pertama itu nanti teman-teman semua ingin mencari tahu tentang bagaimana menu-menu yang ada itu seperti apa saja, ataupun form itu ada bentuknya seperti apa, terus hal-hal yang tercantum di dalam forms itu ada apa aja. Nah, teman-teman bisa langsung lihat di movie index-nya sini. Jadi kalaupun nanti teman-teman udah lihat tapi mungkin lupa mau balik lagi, nggak perlu harus menonton semua, tinggal dilihat saja di movie index dan teman-teman bisa tahu harus menonton video yang mana. Nah, di situ nanti juga di sini udah dituliskan, sorry Eric, I want to confirm again since you are right in here that there will be a weekly Q&A session. Can I also explain about
Yeah,
this?
sure.
Ya, jadi di sini teman-teman
It's just that, Cynthia, it's
Yes,
just that the time is wrong. It's 9 to 12 Dutch time, so it's in the afternoon for you.
Oke. Jadi
Sorry for
teman-teman di
that.
sini untuk Q&A-nya itu nanti kita akan membuka sesi karena kan kami paham bahwa teman-teman masih banyak yang baru dengan sistem ini. Jadi nanti untuk waktu Q&A di sini adalah dari setiap hari Jumat mulai dari jam 9 sampai jam 12 Dutch time ya. Di sini jadi bukan Indonesian time, tapi di sini Dutch time. Berarti jam 9 itu adalah sekitar jam 2 siang di Indonesia. Mulai dari jam 2 siang di Indonesia sampai nanti sampai jam 5 sore. Jadi nanti teman-teman bisa jam 2 sampai jam 5 sore seumpama ada pertanyaan pun silahkan dikirimkan dulu melalui email. Di sini ada info@spheeres.com. Nanti jam 2 siang teman-teman langsung bergabung aja via Teams yang akan kami cantumkan linknya di website ataupun nanti teman-teman bisa tanya melalui narah hubung. Nanti dari situ teman-teman tinggal mengikuti dan nanti ada tim dari Spheeres yang akan membantu untuk menjawab pertanyaan dari teman-teman. Jadi jangan khawatir teman-teman, jangan takut untuk mengikuti lomba ini karena kami tidak akan langsung melepas teman-teman. Kami di sini tetap akan membimbing ataupun membantu teman-teman untuk lebih familiar lagi dalam menggunakan sistem Spheeres Low Code ini. Oke. Nah, untuk database-nya sendiri itu nanti akan dikomunikasikan lagi ya teman-teman. Jadi teman-teman yang sudah mendaftar dan nanti sudah memenuhi untuk proses pengisian data tim dan juga untuk pembayaran, nanti kami akan email ke ketua tim masing-masing untuk mengirimkan informasi database ataupun akun yang bisa teman-teman gunakan untuk login di spheeres.com. Sehingga nanti setelah itu teman-teman bisa fokus untuk mencoba dan mempelajari sistemnya, tapi mungkin selama sembari menunggu, teman-teman bisa mulai untuk membuat laporan untuk proposalnya. Jadi nanti teman-teman bisa membuat proposal untuk desainnya terlebih dahulu supaya nanti bisa diaplikasikan di spheeres.com. Oke, jadi teman-teman mungkin kalau masih ada yang mau ditanyakan itu nanti bisa langsung aja di email tadi. Untuk emailnya sudah saya sertakan di Google Drive dan juga mungkin bisa menggunakan helpdesk di sini. Dan untuk videonya silahkan ditonton lagi ya teman-teman untuk videonya karena di situ sudah lengkap juga, sudah ada penjelasannya step by step dan juga poin-poin penting yang harus teman-teman perhatikan di situ. So Eric, I think I will close for this socialization. Thank you for your explanation and also thank you for all the examples that you gave to us today. Also, I want to
Yeah,
confirm
gladly
again.
done.
Yeah, I want to confirm again. So we will have some kind of like a Q&A session every Friday from the 2 until 5. I'm sorry, it will be 9 until 12 your Dutch time, right? So it will be
Yeah,
from
that's 2 to
2
5 your
until
time, I
5.
think. Huh?
Yes. Oke.
Yeah.
Oke, terima kasih teman-teman. Mungkin untuk sosialisasi hari ini itu untuk rangkumannya, jadi teman-teman bisa langsung untuk melihat untuk panduan itu ada di web LO Kreatif dan juga untuk seluruh video manual itu ada di web LO Kreatif. Saya ingatkan lagi bahwa untuk kuotanya itu hanya untuk 30 tim, di mana masing-masing tim hanya bisa berisi 3 member, 1 ketua dan juga 2 anggota. Dan juga untuk hadiah utamanya, saya ingatkan lagi hadiah utamanya nanti adalah kesempatan untuk bisa magang dan dibayar di spheeres.com. Oke, terima kasih semuanya untuk kehadirannya pada sosialisasi hari ini. Untuk seluruh video dan penjelasan bisa teman-teman tonton kembali di YouTube LO Kreatif dan juga bisa teman-teman unduh materinya di website LO Kreatif. Jadi jangan ragu-ragu lagi untuk mendaftar, langsung mendaftar dan juga nanti teman-teman bisa tanya-tanya ke kami kalaupun ada pertanyaan. Terima kasih semuanya untuk perhatiannya dan waktunya. Saya ucapkan selamat sore dan terima kasih.
Recording stopped.